you getting yourself ready for our show?
Everybody, Jigs and Bigs, it's another Tuesday, and we got a great show lined up just for you. And you over there doing your thing, get your hand out of your pants. We got a good show for you too, you freak. We got lots to talk about this week. First and foremost, Shawn the Fisherman is back. He's back, and it's like he's been on a mission, hiking in the Himalayas, and he's learning about himself and the world, and it's just magic. He's got all this knowledge he's going to bring to the table. I have had one hell of a week. I got lots of stuff to go over for you guys, too. The multi-species scavenger hunt style tournament is going on and going strong, and we'll have an update as to what's been happening over there, as well as, my specific weigh-in and my journey here and what I'm getting hung up on as far as species. No guest in the beef seat this week due to some scheduling conflicts, which kind of sucked, but we're going to have that guest show up in a future show, and we also have something real cool for you guys that want to engage a bit on the show. You can now call us and voice your feelings and grievances or what have you. We got a lot of great show lined up for you guys. We got to talk about finesse jigs and a little mental health check for you too. Trust me, guys, you don't want to go too far. We got more good stuff, Jigs and Bigs, coming up right after this. Jigs and Bigs goodness, we got it. We got a good show lined up for you. All kinds of fun stuff. This is bizarre. In the last 3 weeks, I have had it's been a who's who in this little space that we stream to our jig heads over on this private YouTube feed that they get some access to. But, a couple weeks ago, we had Tony from Fresh Baits joining us as a guest co-host. This week, or what am I saying? Last week, we had Chris Ellis, the one and only Mr. Tightlines, sitting in his guest co-host with Joe and myself. And now this week, I'm here and I got Shawn the Fisherman in the house, and we're without who the fuck is Joe Brown.
It's like a revolving door in this fucking show.
It's insane. It is insane. But for those of you that need the consistency,
I'm here for you. I'll always be here for you. I'm never going to leave you.
This is the word of Bobby Roast Beef. No, Joe, unfortunately,
gong.
At the last minute, Joe had some family issues that prevented him from being available. We understand the situation. We're sympathetic, and he'll be back next week. No worries, no sweat. It's all good. Everything's good here in Jigs and Bigs land. But I'm not going to take any of this spotlight here. I'm going to do a little quick housekeeping. Then we're going to hear from Shawn. Couple things that I want to let you guys know about. First and foremost, as always, we appreciate your feedback on the show, especially when it comes to the Apple Podcast platform. Regardless whether you listen to our show on Apple Podcast or you listen on Spotify, if you've got an Apple device and you can open up Apple Podcasts on your phone, just search for our show and leave us some type of a rating and review. Number one, we take that stuff to heart, so if you guys have some feedback for us, we'd love to hear about it. And number two, it does truly help the show by stoking that sort of algorithm that kind of all the platforms that are out there for podcasts, they kind of borrow that info from Apple. Like it seems to have they have the corner on that market. So they happen to also be the largest platform of all of our our audience base. So if you are listening or you have the Apple Podcast app, do us a favor. Go ahead and leave a rating and review. We would appreciate it. Also, if you love this show, there's two things you can do to go ahead and reflect it. The first, the most obvious one, is to get yourself some Jigs and Bigs merch. One thing that you can do is represent with the Jigs and Bigs logo wear, but we also have a couple other specialty shirts. The Jigs and Bigs Bernie style, which has a little bit of history with Shawn and myself. We got the Ditch Pickle Tickler shirt, which is just a tongue-in-cheek little play on a term that kind of got got coined right here. And then we have some Bobby Roast beef stuff as well. We got shirts, we got hoodies, we got hats, we got all kinds of stuff. And for those of you who've subscribed to Dark Horse Tackle before next month's box goes out, you are going to get a Jigs and Bigs sticker in that box. So if you're not currently subscribed to Dark Horse Tackle, you should go ahead and do so. Do it right away. Remember, Jigs and Bigs 15 can save you 15% on that first box from your month-to-month subscription. Give it a shot. Try out some cool baits. It's awesome. We had the guys from Dark Horse on last week. Great conversation, but if you want to get yourself a Jigs and Bigs sticker, that's an easy way to do so. Otherwise, we've been just kind of bumping into people, or as we see them, we'll, oh yeah, you need a sticker? Here you go. So this way, if you're in another part of the country, is a great way to do it, and check out some awesome baits. And we'll be talking about some Dark Horse stuff that I was throwing this week that was just freaking bananas. Lastly, if you're just one of these Jigs and Bigs fans, like you've been with us, you've seen us through all the changes, you love what we do. Gravy Fishing asks, he says, can you leave multiple reviews? Yes, you can leave multiple reviews. Go for it. You know, if you're one of those fans, like I just referenced Gravy, and you want to take that to the next level, support the show every single month, get access to the recording sessions of these shows so that you can engage with us while we record it, you got to get the whole back end. And also, we do share some story stuff that doesn't make it in the final show. We kind of give some feedback to anglers, and we have a lot of fun with our jig heads. Plus, we got a few things up our sleeves that are a little extra bonuses for our jig heads, like additional discounts. So if you've got, if you're a jig head, you get a different deal for Dark Horse Tackle, a really good deal. So if you subscribe to be a jig head, you can do so for $5 a month. And that money goes to help the show, helps us kind of cover our expenses, which is awesome. We appreciate that. So go ahead and sign up and, be a part of it all. Now that I've got all this housekeeping out of the way and I've taken up enough time, where the hell has Shawn the Fisherman been?
Shawn the Fisherman has been not fishing. I'm going to blow everybody's mind. I got burnt out. It's been 3 years of going hard with this stuff. And it's not just the fishing. It's all the stuff around the fishing.
Yeah.
And over the past, I don't know, month and a half to 2 months, there's been a number of things that have kind of been the tipping point for me with how I'm allotting my resources, both time and money.
Yep.
And mental resources as well. And it started with a couple of things on the competitive scene that I didn't agree with. On one case, another case was some uncalled for, unsportsmanlike shit that really was out of left field. And I'm going to be a little ambiguous with this stuff because I haven't been fishing and I haven't been thinking about fishing or thinking about it as little as possible for over a month now, like a month and a half.
Yep.
Which kind of took a lot of people by surprise to the point where like my wife and Nelson were very, very concerned about my mental health the first week of it. And I'm like, no, I dropped out of what I had to drop out of and said my piece, and I just want to forget about it and move on. And what kind of happened, I mean, with those three things weighing on me, or the 3 or 4 things that all happened kind of at once, and then the health scare I had that was just about, I think it was sandwiched in between two of them.
Yeah.
I really reflected on my resources again, the use of them, and I dropped off a lot of stuff. So I dropped out of pretty much really every organization that I was involved in as a director, as a, shall we say, marketer.
Yep.
And everything that I was involved in, I dropped, including one of the volunteer opportunities that has nothing to do with fishing, but it was another time and stress drain.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I ended up just dropping out of everything. And where it really hit home, I think, was I've been very candid about my alcohol abuse in the past. Like I drank to excess to the point where I couldn't stop. And when I finally, really got on this current stint of sobriety, which is, 15 years plus and counting, the thing that really put me over the edge was fishing. I really dove into it, and it was such a release. It was a time and place where I was able to mentally and physically get away from everything. I was able to physically, be active. And over the past 2 months, maybe even since the season started, I've really been having a lot of second thoughts about the way I've been attacking fishing. And it's become more of a stressor to me in the past. I mean, honestly, this year, if maybe even a little last year.
Yeah.
I think the way and the amount of competition that I've been doing, I don't know, man. There's a lot of negatives to it. And I think enough of them just weighed me down with that. And I just said enough of the competing. If anybody notices, like I haven't turned in any fish for this Jigs and Bigs tournament. I didn't fish the Mayhem. There was a couple other tournaments that I may have paid for, and I just dropped right out of it and said, fuck it. I just let it go, which was a huge thing for me because throughout all this shit, I really wasn't doing that bad. I've won plenty of tournaments. I've done really well, but I think what it comes down to is
even with AOY, you were in a decent spot.
In both, both of my AOYs that I was in really, I was competitive.
Yeah.
Just based on number of actual first place finishes, there wasn't a lot of that going around. But either way, I mean, it really came down to two things. Number one, what is all this good for with the competition? Yeah. What am I doing? Because anytime we met up with somebody, or I came across a partnership or whatever, and I still maintain my partners, by the way. Again, I'm not on any sort of teams for Naqua, for Klondike, for A-Bay. I'm kind of in a weird gray area, but it's all good. Yeah. But I'm still supporting them, and for Nor'easter, like I had to give them a call when I dropped off the face of the earth for a little bit and say, hey, look, like I'm doing this, like it's for my mental health. I just want to kind of drop out of the scene for a little bit, and I will still continue to support you in any way, shape, or form. And they understood that. I have not had a chance to talk to Nor'easter. I don't know if John and Mary Lou listen, but I'll get in touch with them at some point. But it wasn't an easy decision to make. But when I made all these decisions,
and it wasn't a hasty decision that you made either. I think that needs to be thrown out there. It wasn't something that was just like, fuck it, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It was something that you kind of mulled over.
Yeah. Again, this is stuff that has been kind of lingering for some time, and it just there were a few things that pushed it over the edge. Again, my health scare was one of them, and there was a couple other things, the competitive side, that really made me examine what's the bottom line here. What is the goal I'm working towards? What is the goal we're all working towards as anglers who compete, or anybody who's in the scene and wants to become part of a team or whatever? We all look at this. I think this is my opinion. I think we all look at this and say, God, this is the way I can get out of my 9 to 5. This is the way I can do whatever I want. This is, and we've talked about it on the show a million times. The trade-off is you now got a job in marketing, and you better be making enough money to pay for your fucking health insurance. It's crazy shit like that. And I'm at the point in my life where, through the work I did in the military and the resulting, the results of that, like I'm at a place where I don't need to do that. I don't need to go out and fish these tournaments that have a $2,000-$3,000 pot, because even if I win every single one of them, it's not life-changing.
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, it's life-changing negative because I'm not at home. I missed so much time with my kids growing up because of the military and because of my civilian jobs. Like now I'm going to miss them because I have a tournament somewhere a third of the way across the country or a quarter way across the country, and I'm going to take a week off just so I can compete with, some folks that may or may not be on the right side of shady, it's
exactly.
Just fucked up.
Yeah. That's, I think, is the best way to put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, like, let's be honest, like, and I'm curious where this is too. Like, I know, like, you've made the comparisons in the past and saying, like, yeah, you take like one addiction and you supplement it for something else that's healthier. But I think I've also heard you say, like, when in terms of fishing, like, especially competitive fishing, that it is gambling. Like, there's a certain point where you're just chasing that, water-based dragon. You know what I mean? So to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it necessarily in your situation directly. I think there's a little bit of that for all competitive anglers. Where they sit on the scale is going to vary, but like It's almost like it's like a drug. Like they just can't let it go. They got to have money on that outing.
Yeah. And the money comes into play. Like everyone documents every penny they fucking take in. But the thing is,
they don't know what they spend.
No one's looking at the amount of money everybody's spending for all this shit.
Yep.
And it's, I've laughed about this. So the first week after I did all this stuff, it was quiet. I was at home. I was prepping for my vacation. I went on vacation with my family last week. And just so you know, I mean, I literally sat on the beach for 5 days.
Good. You deserved it, dude.
And I fried myself and relaxed and did nothing. I was on the beach at Cape Cod where I love to fish. I didn't bring any fucking rods. I didn't bring any reels. I didn't bring any lures. I didn't buy anything. I tried not to think about it. And I just sat there and I relaxed. And, you know, the week beforehand, I don't know how many major house projects I either, you know, continued working on or knocked out, but like I stopped fishing and I feel less stressed. And that's not right. That's not right. So my little hiatus is going to go on open-ended. I've got a ton of shit to do around the house.
Yep.
I'm relaxed. I'll still be on the show. This was the only real
like fishing related thing. Yeah.
Yep. That I didn't drop. So I will be here. My voice will be heard.
We got him.
Yeah. You guys are going to be relying a lot. You and Joe will be relying a lot on my input from mostly experience. And I might be asking you guys questions about shit for a little while.
Sure. No,
I'm not quitting.
Good.
I have to be clear about this. I'm not quitting fishing forever.
Yeah.
But the
Until
way
you're
that
ready.
I was fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way I was fishing and the amount of time and resources and energy and money, it wasn't working. And I'm going to regroup and see which see when I get back on the water. Not if I get back on the water, when.
Yep.
But, you know, I mean, I'm looking at a nice little self-imposed ban just for a while. Just to fucking calm this shit down. But it wasn't an easy decision, and I mean, I'm benefiting from it.
Yep.
I'm fucking much calmer. My shit's getting done around the house. I'm a fucking responsible human, and I can't say all those things when I was fucking going way overboard with all the fishing stuff. So, it's fucking crazy, man. Like, you know, I don't think I was the worst angler competitively, and I definitely wasn't.
No, you definitely weren't.
But I hung.
Yeah.
I won ones I shouldn't have.
Yep.
Sometimes I fucking did poorly at ones that I should have, but I hung. And there's no ranking system. This is all shit. Like, I'm just good. I'm fucking done. I don't even want to deal with it anymore. At least at the levels I was doing it at, and I'm good. So I took a little break, folks. I'm still on my break. Everything's good. I honestly, and this is not a joke, I would like to thank out to the handful of people that did reach out to make sure everything was okay. There was no injury, no mental stuff. Otherwise, I did, like I said, my wife and Nelson were on top of me of like, hey, is everything okay? Do you need to talk to anybody? You want to do this? You want to do that? Why don't you just go fishing? I'm like, I do not want to fucking go fishing.
That's the last thing you're looking at doing.
Yeah, it got to the point where even my wife said, go fun fishing. And I just shook my head and said, I am at a point right now where it's stressful for me to think about taking the kayak out of the garage, even to go into my pond in the backyard. So I'm going to be really thinking about what I want to do and how the best way to do it.
Yep. And
going forward. And I'm just not, I'm not ready to get back on the water yet. At one point, I'm sure I will.
And you know, it's funny, man, because we kind of talked a little bit about this in the Dark Horse segment with Zach and Josh about how like fishing is different things for different people. Like they need it. And I don't think what we ever said is that fishing and what it is for people can change throughout their lives. You know, and I think that a lot of our guests, like especially those that are like in the situation that I was, where they maybe fished super recreationally as a kid, almost like begrudgingly went fishing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I guess we're going fishing, so like that. And then later in life, they discover it. And they're like, it's an absolute shit show. They learn a few things. They learn a few more things. They maybe dabble competitively, and then they make decisions. It's just like a road. And ultimately, you're going to go on, gravel dirt, trails, and then you're going to go on fucking superhighways. So it's like, it is your journey regardless,
Yeah. And when I started fishing competitively, which was, a couple of years pre-pandemic.
Yep.
I really felt like I was playing to my strengths and I was I at least like I controlled where I fished. And that went out the window. Like I just got to a level where it just, I was fishing places that, you know, the tournament was at this lake, whether it was
and you had to dedicate your time there, you know? Yeah.
And one of the things that I still to this day, I mean, it was almost the impetus of the fuck that guy segment is I really hate fishing bodies of water with fucking big boats.
Yeah. Wreck boats
and it just seems
shit.
like over and over and over and over and over again, I'm stuck on bodies of water with big boats. Like I haven't fished my normal ride up to the mountains in years.
Yeah.
Like there's like a number of ponds I love fishing and I haven't touched them.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And I want to, you know, I'd love to get back to that. But again, right now, when I think about putting that boat on my truck and going out somewhere, all that baggage for 3 years is just stuck there with it. I'm not going out there and immersing myself in the environment and doing some fishing and being quiet. I'm thinking about endless mounds of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready to do that yet. So, yeah. So like
Fair
I
enough,
said, I'll be riding on your dollar here for a little while. I'm whatever I can add to the show, I will. Hopefully it'll be dick and fart jokes.
I'm sure that there will be plenty of Bernie stuff.
Yep.
Geeky related
stuff,
shit in the
dick and fart
winter
jokes.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be fucking.
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. We obviously have a lot of jigs and big stuff coming up for next year.
Oh yeah.
You know, I may not fish them all. I may not fish them, any of them, but I'm still going to be directing for jigs and bigs. Well, the multi-species again. We have some news coming up with that and some changes, some tweaks we're making for, again, leveling the field, making sure that, you know, if you get in, even if you're only fishing for a couple of days, you still got a shot. You know what I mean? And we'll see what we can do. But, yeah. Any more questions, Bobby? Follow up? What do we got? I mean,
nothing. Nothing
this was
in here.
apparently shocking to a few people, but it was.
Joe, the bearded angler, says, "Good for you, Shawn. I'm not even trying to compare our fishing experiences, but I understand what you're saying. You got to keep eyes on the big prize." And the other good news is that we did get an FTG from Todd fishing the sticks. He did leave a voicemail. So I'll get that when we take our break in between the segment 1 and segment 2. But yeah, I mean, no, it doesn't seem like there's any other questions that have come in here from anybody. But that's good, man. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, and like that's the thing. After you shake out all that other bullshit, you'll be going back up to the mountains and just, you know. It'll become that escape, you know what I mean? And it won't have the claws of the other bullshit lumped in it.
Yeah, I really got away from, in the pursuit of this competitive stuff, I got away from what was fun.
And maybe
I wish.
Maybe that means you're going to be Shawn the White Bucket guy.
Holy shit, I can only hope.
You considered that? Yeah.
If that happens, I want you to pull a straight up old yeller with me. I got a shed in my
we'll
backyard.
Do what we got to do.
You can take me behind it and fucking put a bullet in my head.
Do what we got to do. You know what I mean?
Or, you know, it's that first day when I come running up and I go, Bobby, I got 2 bluegills and a muskrat. Get the skinning knife.
Or I get that phone call and it's like,
dude, the stocking truck is at the pond today. They got 16-inch browns in there. I just made a 16-inch brown in my kitchen.
I'll be like, 2 things. Get a Depends. We're at that age. Secondly, I'll meet you there. I'll bring the dunks. Yeah.
Your follow-up question will be, did you see any painted turtles out there? We got to get a painted turtle. The fucking 16-inch brown is going to wash down good with a boiled turtle.
I love it. I freaking love it. Oh, my God.
Holy shit.
Well, now, while you're taking a break from fishing and kind of hitting the reset button and then finding it again, this is like, let's be honest. Have you ever heard of that movie, How Stella Got Her Groove Back?
I've heard of it. I never watched it.
Okay, fair. It's not really in our demographic, I think, which is fine. But I think we're rewriting or making a parody film, How Shawn Got His Groove Back. And I think that eventually we'll get there. You know, if it means that you're going to take a trip to Italy and, you know, meet somebody, a romantic stranger at the Trevi Fountain, so be it. You know?
Let me tell you about the trip I took that helped. All right?
Yeah, tell me about the trip that you took. How was it?
I went on vacation out to the Cape. And, you know, if anybody's been out to Cape Cod, you know that Provincetown, Mass, the tip of the Cape. We've talked about Provincetown before.
Just a tip, baby.
Provincetown's a party as long as you're open-minded. If you're not open-minded, if you're kind of closed to things, you're going to go up there and you're going to see shit and go, this is fill in the blank of whatever slur or negative comment you want to make. I can go up and kind of deal with a bunch of shit. But what I will say this about Provincetown, the last time I went, I did not realize they got a lot of dispensaries there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. Yes. And I came across a dispensary, and I have not been to and from the dispensaries much, but I did go to one, and they had a strain called Jigglers. Let me tell you how Jigglers hit every note I was looking for. No paranoia, smooth, sleepy time stuff. I go to bed with it. It was great. I can't recommend enough the Jigglers. It's real lightweight shit. Have a good time with it, folks. If you're in a state that has not only decriminalized but legalized recreationally or medicinally, have fun. Request your Jigglers.
Freaking Jigglers, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else happened. We had a running joke. My youngest son actually brought one of his friends on the trip. We had a running joke. I didn't tell you about this. This was pretty phenomenal. Now, my brother is also sober. He's same boat I am, right? He's been sober for years. And we were kind of the pilots for my son and his buddy. Anywhere they wanted to go, we're like, all right, let's go in the morning, then finish the day at the beach. Or if it was a cloudy day, we went out. But it turned into we had kind of a fucking mini golf marathon. It was just, it was crazy. I actually had to text my son's buddy's parents, and when they asked, hey, how's everything going? Is he being a problem child? Any behavioral issues? I said, no, he's great. I said, he might be returning to you with a slight gambling problem because we bet pretty much $1 on everything. Mini golf, cards. How many birds are we going to see at the beach today? It was shit. We bet dollar bills on everything. And
let's fucking bored.
As we were driving out to one of the mini golf courses, I may have mentioned to you that I saw a Radio Shack sign still up on a plaza, an empty plaza. And my brother and I have been kind of laughing about this for a few years, where I made a joke one time that my brother said, well, look, there's something stupid going on TV. Tell you what, why don't we grab a couple 30 packs? We'll get back into it and we'll show these fuckers what's up. And I said, great. Let me go grab a Waluigi costume. He goes, what? I go, if I'm going to get liquored up, I'm going to do it right. If I'm going to break my giant chain of sobriety, I'm going to be dressed like Waluigi.
Of course.
Which makes sense. So we drive by the Radio Shack sign. I go, we take that thing down and we put it on eBay. Somebody might pay $1,000 for it.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, yep. He goes, liquor store's right across the street. I go, I'll pick up a Waluigi costume. Let's do it. So the two in the back are like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? I go, a little B&E, little Grand Theft. What are you talking about? Yeah. I go, you guys are going to drive. We'll still get the DUIs, but it should be a misdemeanor. I don't think it'll be a felony at that point.
Yeah.
They don't have permits or anything. That would have just been illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
We're already in the realm of illegal with.
Oh yeah, you're like, what's the better decision here?
Yeah. Well, obviously we were not drinking. It was a running joke, but they had a good laugh about it, about me dressed up like Waluigi, fucking getting dragged in. My brother semi-nude, going, I thought this is America. That was the running joke for the Cape for most of the week. But no, we had pretty good weather. A lot of good beach days. I am definitely three shades tanner.
Yep.
Didn't do any fishing. Enjoyed it, and that was it. Even got asked to go on not one but 2 charters and declined them both.
No shit.
Yep. Just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
Sat by myself on the beach with the Jigglers. That's what I did.
Jiggle.
Jiggle those Jigglers.
I did, in fact, jiggle.
Do you remember those 80s like Jell-O snacks? Like, you didn't buy them made. You had to make them. There was like a recipe for Jigglers. And it was basically like, this is mind-blowing.
You first made Jell-O, and then you took your favorite cookie cutter, and you would jellify it in like a cookie sheet, and then just cut them out.
And then you would eat these stupid little Jigglers with your hands. Or you would pack them up in a fancy piece of glass that's labeled and says Pashon, and you would fire that up and let her rip.
You had to do what you got to do. Yeah, that's what I did. I had the Shawn pipe out. We've hit some jigglers, and they were not Jello brand. Yeah,
I love that, man. That's awesome. Well, hey, good. You enjoyed the Cape. I know we were talking earlier in the year. You're like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing for vacation. So like my kids are going to get that same experience. And it sounds like, I mean, even like the go-karts and everything, it sounds like they did.
I did tell you about the go-karts, the single dirtiest go-kart race ever. I definitely, it was out of control. I'm not going to talk about that because there was
it was brilliant.
Major shit. It was funny, but yeah, we had a good time.
Sweet, dude. That's awesome.
You did some fishing, right? We got to talk about that now?
We might as well get to a little bit of fishing here. Guys, your boy went freaking hard this week. I went out 4 different times in 2 different states. I had, and I'm actually scoping out another couple because I'll go over my checklist of species that are like really sort of the overall targets that I'm focusing on right now and what some of my plans may or may not be. So this week was freaking crazy, dude. Monday, I really wanted to get out on Monday, but I just wasn't able to with what the stuff I had going on as far as prep for the week and all that stuff. And actually, I have a feeling I'm probably not going to make it out tomorrow either, which sucks. I am considering, however, editing the show while carp fishing. I am considering that might be a potential. So that's a little bit of an idea of where I'm at there. I started my week fishing last week, Tuesday. I went out with Delirious. Delirious and I went to a lake out in his neck of the woods in Connecticut. And we had a conversation over the weekend and I said, listen, this is what I'm thinking. I said, really? He just wants to have fun and catch fish and just bullshit and do whatever. And I was like, I'm always down for that. But I told him, I said, I kind of have a handful of species I need to target. And largemouth are not on that list at all. I can't seem to get away from these things. It's just one of those things. So I said, I'm game for pretty much whatever, but I'd like to go where I can either get into some where there's a good population of pickerel, pike, smallmouth. What else do I need? Bowfin, bowfin I don't have, or crappie. That's like kind of the big 5. Catfish and carp also fit into that mold too. But like, as far as going out and throwing bass shit, that's what I'm focused on. So he goes, well, he's like, I got a spot where you can find some big pickerel. He's like, I caught my, PB bass out of this lake. He's like, this is like, I actually didn't think it was public, but turns out it is. There's a state boat launch there and everything. And so we met there a couple hours later than I wanted to. But we fished and I got so many small bass, what I think 5 in total. And they were all hitting Ned rigs and finesse jigs. And we'll be talking about finesse jigs in our bait of the week this week. But I was throwing a Ned. First, I had a Ned tied on, an EWG Ned with a very small plastic, really kind of not anything spectacular, but something with some appendages. And I was throwing that around, and I was just catching these 11 and 12 inch, 13 inch bass. And they were just nailing it. And there were tons and tons of grass and lily pads where we were. So I was just trying to kind of looking for the edges and the holes and dropping this bait down, and they were just crushing it. In the same area, I was like, I haven't thrown a spinnerbait yet. And I'm like, we got a lot of wind happening today. I said, this is a good idea. First cast, no bullshit. I throw this spinnerbait that is ideal for the water conditions and clarity, everything. And I start reeling it back in as it gets hung up on a little bit of grass. I pop it free. It's coming back, and right by the boat, I see a chain pickerel take a swipe at the trailer and then shake off from it and leave. You son of a bitch. It's just everything good in me just drained in that moment. I was like, you motherfucker. So we fished for about another hour and a half, and each of us went without a bite. And I said to D, I said, because, we wanted to also go and grab lunch and then talk about some trailer plans. Holy shit, dude. I am redoing this trailer entirely. It's going to embody every sort of facet of like my fishing journey, and give me the tools to be able to do so and, go further. It's going to be freaking nuts. It's going to be awesome. So we got a little bit of a plan. We have financially kind of a flow chart of, what's needed at such and such point and then what we need to get later. But it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So that was too. Oh, I should also mention this. It wouldn't be Jigs and Bigs if we didn't mention what went into our fat fucking faces. But wow. So Delirious and I were talking about lunch. This is right over by the launch. We're just kind of floating over by the ramp. And he's like, what about this place here? He calls up. It's called Red Onion Pizzeria. Holy shit. So we go and I ordered. I love to order anything that's like the signature dish. So if they have like a sandwich that's like the such and such, wherever that place is, like that's sort of their trademark. Like that's what they're putting their name on. They had something called the Red Onion Burger, and it was just a real simple burger, but it was dynamite. The bread was really out of this world, what was it? Delirious ordered a pizza and some mozzarella sticks, and then there was this. My burger came with fries, and the woman behind the counter goes, "Do you like garlic?" And I was like, "Do I like garlic? Is the Pope freaking Catholic?" Absolutely. She goes, "Try this for your fries," and she gave me this little ramekin of like almost like a garlic aioli that was out of this freaking world. I think it was
Awesome.
like 2 parts garlic paste to 1 part like any other ingredients that went into it at all. It was Nelson would have loved this. I'm just saying he would have loved this. It was great. Packed everything up. We had a good little bit of a conversation as far as a plan for the trailer, what's going to happen there. Did not get a pick roll that day. No worries. We move on. Stop number 2 was kind of just random. Now, one of the baits that I was throwing was from Giltech. It's a finesse jig. Really, really small with finesse jig. I think it's 3/16 ounce. I think 3/16 ounce or maybe an eighth. Real small, and I was throwing it with another bait that I had received from Dark Horse. This is called the Riot Tantrum, which is a small cross-style bait with like appendages that are held on by the tiniest little arms. I mean, these things just flap like crazy, but they're set a little bit further up. So leaving it whole and putting it on this finesse jig, it's like the perfect. It's almost like when you rig it, the hook falls right in where it needs to be. It just fits so perfectly. So I had caught a couple of my largemouth at the spot in Connecticut with Delirious on this jig. I had it tied on. Wednesday I got up. I had some running around to do, and I decided I would go over to. Actually, you know what it was? Wednesday I had a dentist appointment. So I get to my appointment bright and early, and I'm like, okay, what are we doing? What's going on? And they said, oh, unfortunately, you're going to have to pay out of pocket for this visit because you have reached your benefits for the year, and it doesn't restart until January. I said, okay, we'll go ahead and do that. I'll come back in January. I'm like, because I'm not paying out of pocket. I'm supposed to get 2 cleanings. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to brush and floss and do my thing, but, whatever. So I scheduled that. I'm like, well, now my morning's open. I'm like, I'm not going to go back and get the kayak or anything like that. You know what? I'm just going to go and grab a coffee, some breakfast, and, maybe I'll go up to one of my spots where I bank fish periodically and I'll throw a finesse jig. We'll see what happens. And that's what I did. Second cast over by the dam. And I think, Shawn, you saw this picture. I caught this absolute just beast, annihilated. Like this was like in the roof of its mouth, set back quite a bit, like choked this thing. I was in that spot where I had about a 4 to 6 foot drop. The water levels are up really high. It was more like 4 feet, from this concrete platform that I was fishing from and flipping this fish up and over to get him. Holy shit. I didn't know that. I put a lot of faith in my line that day. So I had done that. It was good. Everything. I was having a good time with it. Got on the board there. Felt pretty good about it. I was like, you know what? Like I'm not doing a whole lot. I got some shit I got to do at home. I'm gonna call this now. We're gonna go home. Great. My day Wednesday was just bullshit. It was terrible. It was ridiculous. I got out. I left the house a little bit early for trivia, and I said, I'm going to head out to my spot a little bit early because there's a pond in between 2 of my trivia establishments that I was like, I'm just going to go and throw a line over there, whatever, And there was a couple of guys there. One of them was with their son, and they were just fishing for panfish over in one corner, and I go over with this finesse jig. And I caught 4 or 5 over there. It was great. All nibblers, nothing crazy. I did also hook a tree pounder, and I did lose that finesse jig, which sucked. But I caught another one on the Ned that I went back to that I was throwing on Tuesday. So I was like, all right, we'll go ahead. We'll take this. This is good. Made me feel a little bit better about my damn self. And then I went to continue on to, where was it? To trivia. Now, Thursday, my fishing that had gone on Thursday, I decided to make a day of it. And Thursday was a day for adventure. So Thursday, I ended up back at the scene of the crime for Sunday's Derby, the Midsummer Mayhem. I went back to the body of water that I wanted to fish on that day, that I was at actually when the tornado warnings came in, and I said, all right, I'm not screwing with this. Let's pack it all up and drive back home. So I was like, I'm going to go out here and fish this spot, and that's what I did. But ironically, it was not where I intended to go on Thursday morning. I woke up bright and early on Thursday morning. I slipped into the truck. I had actually, when I got home Wednesday night, I rigged up the trailer, got everything all in place. I drove out to the first spot that I wanted to fish, which is a body of water that it's managed by the Army Corps of Engineers. And I didn't even think about this, but when you pull into this spot to get toward the ramp, there's a little bit of a sharp turn, and you go up a small incline, and then it's a big hill that goes down. Well, the gate is right on that other side, and you don't see it from the road. So I go and I pull in there. It's like, oh shit, there's a gate. It was all locked up. It said, no access available to the launch. Now, I don't know if this was because it was deemed unsafe because of the water levels, or if it was maintenance that they were doing because the dam is also right there. I'm not 100% sure what the details were. So I said, okay, screw it. I said, well, I'm already halfway out. I'm going to go ahead and set course for that spot I was supposed to fish on Sunday. And man, let me tell you, it did not disappoint. I caught lots of fish. I had gone out there thinking I knew a thing or two, had a little bit of a plan. I went out throwing a swim jig to start, and lots of grass over in this body of water. So I'm throwing a swim jig. It's good in the grass, and I got a follow with it. And I was like, I'm not sure what's what. Let's go ahead. Let's throw a Ned rig. So I threw a Ned with no avail. Well, actually, I took some notes with what I threw. Yeah, that's right. So I threw a Ned, no avail over there. So I put the Ned back, and I said, there's fish kind of up at the top, up at the surface. Let's see what happens there. And there was a lot of grass that was kind of reaching the surface and not really matting up per se, but getting there. It was on its way. So what I was doing was focusing on the sides of those mats, the little channels that would run in between. And I started throwing another dark horse bait. This is one of the plopper style baits that came in the creek fishing box from Dock Masters. Dock Master Baits. Great bait name. But why is Doc so damn randy? We may never know. But I had gone and I started throwing this around, and it got crushed. When the topwater bite kind of died off, once the sun kind of got up nice and high, I switched over to a spinnerbait because the wind had picked up. The spinnerbait more in open water, and I caught the biggest fish of the day on that. A nice 15 and a half. That went my any 5. And I was there specifically because I knew that there were pike, I knew that there were pickerel, and, potentially I could run into a crappie is what I was thinking. But pike and pickerel were sort of my focus for the most part. So I caught my biggest fish over there on a spinnerbait, caught a couple more in total. And then I had streamlined a bit, fishing the opposite side where the grass wasn't so thick. And I hooked into a handful of them on a finesse swim bait. Little 4-inch swim bait. They would crush it. It was great. So I caught a bunch of fish. A lot of those fish were absolutely useless for the tournament other than one. So I got another fish, my any 5. That brings us, I called that a night. What did I call that trip? Was it about? I think it was actually pretty late in the day now that I think about it. Took a nice drive back from the shears, did trivia, and then Friday I took off. And I took off because I knew I was going to go hard on Saturday morning. Now, I told you, Shawn, when I saw you Friday night, what my plan was for getting out on Saturday morning, and kind of all that had included. And I decided that I was going to hit up Congamon Jr. Now, I've already fished this month in this tournament looking for, because Congamon Jr. seems to just deliver on the small pickerel front and small bass it's free candy. They just can't wait to give it away out of their white van in that part of town. So I go over there. I'm like, let's give it another shot. I've caught so many pickerel over there. I got to lay into one. we'll give it a go. So I wanted to get out at sunup, and I did. It was 5:30 in the morning. I had just launched the boat. I go over to a different spot from where I had fished the last time I was there. I figured I might as well try another spot where I've had success that wasn't where I had gone that first time around this month. So I had gone out to this one area where I have caught some pretty decent fish, all of them largemouth and pickerel. And I get over there, and I was throwing a topwater initially. I figured I'd take care of that low late situation. Not even a sniff on that plopper. Nothing at all. I was like, all right, again, I wasn't seeing signs of any kind of real surface activity or anything like that. So it was a shot in the dark. And I found a spot that had sort of this recipe that I was looking for. It had deep water. It had a nice little shallow weed flat. And those weeds go right up against where that drop off kind of hits. It sort of was exactly, and the drop in there was like 20 feet that at the deepest spot. So I go over and I said, okay, so I'm going to start here and I'm going to work the shit out of this weed line and we'll see what happens. I had thrown, did I take those notes there? Yeah. Went over to Congamon Jr. looking to put a little a little bit of pickerel slime on the board. And I started out with topwater, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, I switched over to a 4-inch swim bait, just basically trying to go with the line of the weeds. I got a tap on that. But after a handful of more casts, I got nothing else. I knew that there were fish in the area because I had gotten a tap on it. So I figured I'd go even a little bit more subtle and a little bit more finesse. And I threw a Ned, and it got smoked by a nibbler largemouth. I said, okay, cool. We got bit. This is great. Let's go ahead and do another one. And I'm, again, working this sort of transition line right here, right up by the grass. I get another bite. This bite feels a little bit different. Hey, it's a chain pickerel. There we go. And I get him in the net, just, what was it, 12 1/4, I think? Something like that. Tiny, stupid, skinny little chain pickerel. On the board, picture taken, we are good to go. So now, for one reason or another, I feel at this point very fulfilled because I have an additional point. You know what I mean? Not just, this is another fish for my NE5 that I already have the point from. It doesn't matter, unless I'm going to break that number one spot, it doesn't make a difference. So I decide to go over and just maintain in this same spot, but work that Ned. Now, I changed something. I was throwing a green pumpkin soft plastic that got bit on. I then decided, because I was throwing near some deep water, I was like, maybe I'll throw a helemite with a chartreuse tip. Maybe it'll get seen a little bit better down there. Nothing. I gave it about 10 casts, nothing at all. I said, all right, let's just, for shits and giggles, we'll put this green pumpkin creature bait on. It's got a little bit of flutter in the legs, and we'll throw that down and see how that does. Now, this is where I didn't really feel a bite, but I saw my line start to go, and I just reeled down a little bit and just swept into it and hooked this fish. I'm thinking this is another nibbler. This wasn't. It was an 18.5 largemouth, an absolute tank for that body of water. Unfreaking believable. I get this fish in the net. I was like, you got to be kidding me. At first, I was thinking this might be a new PB. If it breaks 22 inches, that's a new PB. That would be amazing. And, I knew that regardless, this fish was going to go in my NE5 unless it broke the current largemouth. So I measure the fish, 18.5. I release the fish. I am feeling so good. I decide to get cute, and I go back toward the ramp and I start to focus on crappie. So I change out what I'm throwing and I start throwing. I had seen on my down scan on my way out to that spot, another spot where it dropped out and it got deep. I saw tons of markings. These could have been any kind of fish, who knows? But I knew that there were fish in there. So I went and I threw a crazy finesse tactic. I went and I threw a super downsized spinner. And I threw this out here in this area, didn't even get a tap, nothing. So I said, I'm going to go over to this other really shallow spot where I've seen a lot of panfish activity. Got a couple of taps on that, but I couldn't connect with anything at all. So then I start moving over and I start going back over toward the ramp. And I'm thinking at this point now, I'm like, look, I got a point. I even managed to bump up my NE5 a little bit more and call one of those 15s. I was like, that's cool. Let's go ahead and make some moves. toward the ramp. And if we get off the water early, we'll get to start our day. So that's exactly what happened. I caught 2 more largemouth on the way. There was a guy that was fishing on the bank, and I'm in my head, I'm like,
God, I hate when people are fishing right on the bank. Like, I'm sure he's going to move when I get there, but like, Jesus Christ, it just drives me nuts.
Well, he's casting over there, and he sees me catch one, and he goes, I'm assuming, to his car or truck, and grabs another rod, and then starts throwing over there. He sees me catch another, and then again changes what he's throwing, and he's casting, and he's trying to cast further out. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go in and call it. He's like, what the hell were you throwing out there, man? And I told him, I was like, you can't beat a Ned rig. He's like, son of a bitch, really? They do catch fish. It's like, of course they catch fish. Of course they catch fish. So I thought that was kind of comical, but I got all all my gear loaded up, and then I went and grabbed a coffee. I had to make a run to my storage unit where I keep some camping gear because I want to bring some camp chairs, because my wife and I went to go and spend the afternoon with my cousin Ryan and his girlfriend Becky at their house. They had a little gathering, and we had ourselves an awesome time. We drank a bunch of icy cold beverages and had some good conversation. My parents were even there. It was good to see them too. And we just had a blast. Ate some food. Holly made this really great antipasto style pasta salad. And it was a riff on this one salad that we make that's out of this world. But the pasta salad would just keep so much better. So we brought that out. It was awesome. Everybody had a good time. We had some laughs. And when we arrived, we were informed that there was I don't want to say like an understudy, but maybe more an apprentice, a new tattoo artist looking to get some practice with other individuals that was coming to the party. And my cousin Ryan had plans on getting some tattoos. My cousin Nikki also had plans on getting some tattoos. My wife and I are not afraid of, especially my wife, not afraid of needles whatsoever. So I got 2 tattoos. My wife got one, just a little like accent thing, but she went hard. She did a neck tattoo.
Did she really?
She did. Well, a thing you might not know about my wife is that my wife, when we met, she had a neck tattoo. She had this removed. And I will say this, and I mean, I'm not making light of motorcycle accidents, but after seeing the laser, after they would laser it, the damage that did to the skin, I have seen like folks that were in motorcycle accidents with horrific injuries that didn't look as bad as what she was dealing with. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. It was just freaking bananas. So she had, she had gotten that done. I was kind of like, I don't know what I should do. Somebody made a suggestion. They said, hey, do you remember the very first logo you ever made for your Bobby Roast Beef and your brand? And I was like, yeah, I was like the mud flap trucker guy, right? And they're like, yes, you need to do that as a tattoo. So for those folks that don't know what I'm talking about, our jig heads, I'm going to actually show it to you. The big one anyway. I'm going to share the screen here, and boom, there you go. So there you go, guys. That's what I got. That's my freaking beefy calf right there. The shading is not fantastic. I even told her, I was like, if you just want to do the outline and based off of that, I'll go and get the shading done later. She's like, no, I don't mind doing the shading. That's fine. And then she said like, wow, you have a really, really dry skin on your legs, so the ink is barely taking. That I'm not surprised at. So I'm going to end up getting that finished after it heals at another late day. But so it was interesting. It was very interesting. And then we did kind of a cool tattoo, a little commemorative piece for my grandmother on my father's side. That is the French Canadian side of my family, and that means she is Meme. And in the spelling of Meme, there's these 2 accents that kind of go over. And we had talked about we're like, wow, that would be a really good thing. And ironically, today, the day we're recording this, is her birthday. It's Sunday, July 23rd. Happy birthday, Meme. So we decided while she would never tell somebody to F off, she 100% would flip the bird to them. So I got this done too. These 2 accents on my middle finger. And every single, of the 5 cousins that were there, we all got the same one. They're all matching. So it was pretty cool. It was interesting.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm going to tell you, as somebody who has gotten really good tattoos, this is not a good idea. If you're doing this like for the first time or anything like that, or you're not of an age like I am, where I'm like, yeah, I can get stupid tattoos. I can afford doing that. You know what I mean? If you're that young, spend the money, get good. I have good tattoos, but this was, something just fun. If they don't, if
Right
they
on,
get
man.
blown out in a couple of years or something, hey, whatever. I'm fine with that. But yeah.
Awesome.
And then, did I talk about Saturday? I did talk about Saturday. And then here we are, Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday,
It is.
Let's play catch up right here with the jig heads. We got, Fish in the Sticks mentioned he did send a message, which is sweet. We got Tim Bender in here, says, what's up, y'all? Where the fuck is Joe Brown? Well, like we mentioned earlier, Joe had a bit of a situation with family that he is unavailable for. Totally understand. We hope everything is well and is on the up and up. So he will be back next week, I am sure of it. We got Fish in the Sticks chimes in, and he says, yeah, he tried for cats and crappie this weekend. Just caught bass, gills, and carp. Yeah, I got to go out and target some carp. I really do. It's just a different style of fishing, and I've actually, it was Wednesday night. I was like, am I going to go? I have, thanks to Todd Grubb, I actually have the makings of what I think could be an amazing recipe for carp bait. And I'm toying around with some things. I have it in my truck. I'm ready to go. It's just a matter of like taking the time, going and setting everything up, and then sitting down and waiting. So we'll see what happens. That might happen this week after trivia some night. So if anybody is listening to this show and you're at my trivia nights, you want to come hang out and fish afterwards, let me know what night you're going, and I'm game to do it because I've got a little bit of flexibility there. Let's see who else we got. Binya says, spent my entire day trying to catch goddamn perch. I caught 3, and I think the combined they measured 6 inches. That sucks. That is the worst part about like the minimums is like when you get them and they're biting and they're just not hitting what you need. That sucks, man. I've been there. Let's see. Loaded Potato says probably going out in the AM. Very nice. Gonna need a frog rod. Yeah, definitely gonna need the frog rod. Benny chimes in. He goes, I saw the biggest perch I've ever seen in my life on Buell on Saturday. That thing was bigger than some of the bass that I caught. I mean, they get big. They really do. They get huge, some perch, And then Loaded Potato says, I'll let you know if I see the old lady. I'm guessing that there's a story there. Jay Basson chimes in, says, what's up, gentlemen? How you doing, Jay? Welcome to the show. We got ourselves some good stuff coming up. I do think we should transition, though, now and talk about the Midsummer Mayhem tournament a little bit. Let's talk about that, Shawn.
Yes, sir. I'm pulling it up right now. I actually had the scavenger hunt up, but let's talk real quick about that. So we ended up having 18 people in on that, which was excellent.
Not bad.
And the Midsummer Mayhem, again, was a slot tournament, 12 to 17 inches counted. And honestly, man, one guy ran away with it. Congrats to Ryan Steger, first place.
He really did.
With the slot limit, Ryan put up 439 and a half inches. Great job to him. Second, Nelson popped in 275 and 3/4.
Nice job, Nelson.
Third place. Yeah, nice job, Nelson.
After the top 3, they get the snore.
They get the All right. Third place, Gravy, 185 and 1/4. Great job.
Fucking A, Gravy. Nice job, Gravy.
Fourth place, Jerry Multi-House popped in 142.25.
And that is nothing to sniff at. That's
nothing to snore at. It's nothing to come in your pants about. Up next, fifth place, Binya Mike Hansen.
Nice job, Mike.
140 and 1/4, just 2 inches behind Jerry. Isn't that always the case? Always 2 inches. I told you, I'm good for dick jokes.
You're not lying.
After that, sixth place, Roadkill Nick with 78 and a half, and then and our boy from Dark Horse, Zach Fullard.
Yeah.
70 and 1/4.
Not bad, Zach.
Couple other folks, Fish in the Sticks and Elise popped in some fish just to get their name on the board, give them a double It was almost too much for you there.
It was. I did a little triplet. I did a little paradiddle on the pad.
You damn right you did. So that was the Mayhem, the Midsummer Mayhem.
It was
a great
mayhem.
tournament. Congrats to everyone who did well, and we'll talk to you guys to see about. Do we bring it back next year?
I love it. Nelson says, "Dude, that's not a snore. It sounds like a cow."
I legitimately thought it was from an adult movie when I first heard it.
Oh,
for months. I had no idea.
Maybe even originally, maybe it is, but like I've heard it before in memes, and there's more to it. Like it just continues on. It's like at different volume levels, and for longer. I'm like, holy shit!
It might be from a porn. We don't know.
It could be.
I want to jump over real quick to an update on the Jigs and Bigs July multi-species scavenger hunt.
It's slamming Mountain Dews, baby.
Yeah, 32 folks made it into that one. We have just this massive log jam. I'm just going to go through the top 10.
Yeah.
And there's ties, so just
there's so many ties.
Yeah, it's just so many ties. So I got you, Mr. Roast Beef. Then I got Fish in the Sticks and Jerry Multi-House all have 8 points. Steve Galloway, Chrissy, John Thompson, and Ryan Breen all have 9 points. And then the top 3, John Hagens, Brant Rowland, and Nelson, all with 10 points. Great job, everyone.
Nice job.
Keep pumping them fish in. Keep some things in mind too. Number 1, the fish's lip has to touch the top, the fence, the vertical portion of the bump board. If you drape a fish over the top of that, I cannot get an accurate length, which could affect something, so it will be DQ'd. That's that. Bobby, you stepped in quite a few times for me while I was mentally recovering from all this shit, and you took care of that. And then the second thing, we appreciate your ID cards front and center. That's really great. Mm-hmm. But the rules say the only thing that can be over a fish is your arm and hand while you're holding it.
Yes.
So if you guys are wondering why some of your fish got DQ'd, it's because you put your fucking identifier card right in the middle of the fish. Don't do that. Just, a Fish in the Stick says, damn it, lost another point. I don't want to know what that's about, but I'm sure I'll judge it tomorrow, and you're probably right. So
no, I think he had a lunker, and I think somebody outdid him in one of those categories.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that's how it is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Another thing that just kind of helps out, we haven't really had to deal with it too much, but try not to put your identifier card, especially if it's made out of paper, inside of a fucking plastic worm bag or anything else that A, could reflect, or B, could absorb water on the inside. And we're having some problems. Somebody put their identifier card to protect it inside of a Z-Man bag. That's smart thinking, but it made it real difficult for me to see a bunch of shit. And then, Bobby, I'm going to hit you on this one.
The reflection? I called myself on that one, yeah.
Yeah, the reflection. So if we can't see the numbers because sun is reflecting off the boards, I mean, we can't see the numbers. Just shit. What are we going to do?
And I will tell you guys, those competitors that are using the Catch Carbonite boards, I'm learning this firsthand that those like really nice aluminum boards, they're the ones that reflect the sun the most.
Yep.
Maybe not all the colors, but mine sure does. So be aware before you release that fish.
The red isn't too bad with it. I have the red.
Yep.
It's I think the green one's bad. You have the green one.
I have the green one, yeah.
The green one's bad about it, and then the black one is difficult for number reading as well. So
but yeah, that carbonite, it doesn't fucking do a thing. It's nice.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's your if you guys notice, we're talking about this in segment 1. Tourney time is going to go by the wayside, especially since I'm just not going to be fishing tournaments as much. So,
and we kind of cover a lot of this stuff anyway in the first segment, so I think it makes sense.
Yep. So we'll be talking about that stuff right up front. I don't know, man. You got anything else for segment 1? Or we?
No, I think for segment 1, I think that pretty much does everything that we've got kind of lined up. Yeah, we covered that. We did our housekeeping, our weekly reviews. Everybody knows where you're at. I think that about does it. Let's go ahead. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back with more good stuff after this, guys. We got a little just a tip for you to kind of like keep you dialed a little bit, and like kind of prioritize things. It's good for your mental health. I think you're going to love it. We also have, we do have an FTG call this week. I'm going to go ahead and dig that up right now. And in bait of the week, we're talking finesse jigs. And I like the fast and loose conversation with finesse jigs that we kind of have out there, you know. And I think this will be a fun one. It'll be interesting. Don't go too far, guys. Much more good stuff coming up after this from your favorite fishing podcast, Jigs and Friggin' Bigs. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. We're excited to offer Jigs and Bigs listeners a 15% off savings on your first installment of a month-to-month subscription to Dark Horse Tackle. Dark Horse Tackle provides a monthly supply of small batch, craft, and custom lures, allowing anglers to try some otherwise tough-to-discover baits. This is stuff you're not going to find just anywhere, and Dark Horse Tackle does the hard part for you. They track down these small companies and then test the baits to determine if they're good enough for the DHT community. Subscribe now at darkhorsetackle.com and use the promo code JIGSandBigs15 for your 15% off savings now. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters. Located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut, Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories by Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and much, much more. Financing options are available to upgrade your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Toredge. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, a lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% off with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Toredge.com to check out their selection and lens options. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. You know, if there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy.
Bobby and Shawn now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
God damn it, you're right.
Before we get there, let's,
I see where you're going.
guys,
Take the stage.
Before we get started, we'd like to remind everyone that when you become a patron, you get involved in some conversations between segments. As Bobby was setting up some audio, one of our jig heads went ahead and, put the wrong comment in the wrong chat, and the discussion built from there to huge accusations of filthy cream corn eating.
Is it cream corn play at that point?
Love making, whatever goes on up in Vermont. I have no idea. And I'm not going to say which jig head responded. Bobby might, but I won't.
I won't do it.
Says, hey, I'm not a savage. I use sausage with my cream corn. I don't want to know what that fucking means. Like that, I might throw up in my mouth thinking about it.
I did. I did.
Become a patron.
Become a patron. You can dive in, and this is the community that we're building.
God damn it, we're building a community here.
I don't know of what, but we are building a community.
What segment is this? We doing just a tip? What's happening?
This is just the tip.
I got cream corn in the mind.
So we were talking about, actually, it's ironic. This flows perfectly in with just the tip, because in this week of just the tip, we're talking about how to cream your corn the right way. Techniques, consistency preferences, things like that. No, in all seriousness, Shawn said a lot of really good stuff, and stuff that I think really kind of floored a lot of people when it came to his take on where fishing is in his life right now, what the attention he wants to give it. And during our little pre-production meeting, right when we first went live, we had asked, we're like, oh, what should we do for some kind of a tip? And I kind of wanted to, I made a little bit of a comment. I was like, how about like a little mental health thing? Why don't we talk about that? But then it was Binion that chimed in and said, well, what about like just keeping fishing fun and putting the emphasis on fun and focusing on that? And I think there's something really important there. I don't know if you guys know Farmy, Farmington River. It's a meme fly fishing account on Instagram. Farmy puts out great content, awesome stickers too. And actually, I have some that I need to get on the trailer and the truck, the new trailer when it's done. And a couple of these I just think are just really, really cool. But one of them specifically says, keep fishing fun. And it's simple, but the message is great. It really is. And this kind of gets down to a little bit of what we talked about with the Dark Horse boys, as far as like people that are spot shaming or anything like that. Like fishing is different for everybody, and their path with it is going to be different than yours. They say that instruction, they're like, oh yeah, rinse, repeat as needed, wash, rinse, repeat as needed. Everybody's different. So you just kind of like focus on your own stuff. Don't worry about it. If you're really into making content like I am, or some other folks that in our circle of friends are even more, like that's what their focus is, then great. They can go and live their best life. If you're really into competitive angling, like where that's the only way you're getting joy out of it, okay, then go for it. As long as it's, as long as it's not putting you in the poorhouse or anything like that, like go for it. Hey, you're an adult, you can do what you want. But also like in terms of baits, it's like there shouldn't be any kind of like pressure. I remember a long time ago, Shawn, do you remember this when I did the bait caster versus spinning debate? Like, why is it even got to be a thing?
Yeah, I think we both just attacked it as, or came at it as, I mean, you can get a fucking screw into a board with a hammer.
Yeah.
Just easier to do with a screwdriver.
Exactly.
And you can fucking work a nail out of a board with a screwdriver if you really try, but it's easier with the back end of a claw hammer. You know what I mean? Like,
the reason why I bring that up is because I oftentimes, like, I'll talk to people that are fishing and they'll say like, oh yeah, I only use like spinning combos or something. Like I don't use any bait casters. I'm not that good. And I'm like, well, I mean, like there, to a certain extent, there's a portion of that is preference. I mean, there are different, weights and actions, different powers and actions of all types of different rods. So like, don't put yourself in a situation where you're like, oh yeah, I don't throw bait casters. I'm not as good as you are. Or like, I don't know what I'm doing or some shit like that. Like you can just fish and have fun. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's like, as long as it's scratching the itch that you need it to scratch, then go for it. When I started fishing, it was primarily, I needed a hobby that was cheap.
What an idiot. He thought this was going to be cheap.
I really did. I was like, I'll get a fishing rod. I'll go buy some worms every once in a while. No. Okay. All right. So I failed there. Then I realized that like fishing for me was just a way for me to be active. And this is when I was just bank fishing. So I would go and I would tromps all over the place, getting additional steps I would never get if I wasn't fishing. If I wasn't looking for different spots or I wasn't experimenting, trying to, get to this like honey hole in this remote location or something like that. Like I would put the work in to go do it. And I still do on those fringe elements of the season. It's just that now I like to spend my time in kayaks, and now it's kind of changed to where, for me, it's not just about fishing locally. I like to fish locally and have access to water and fish them regularly, but now it's more about the travel and the journey and the overall trip, you know, so it changes for people, and don't be afraid to let it change for you, you know?
Yeah.
You got anything you want to throw in there, Shawn?
Am I the right person to be asking about this right now?
I tend to think maybe so, because you're going through a transition with fishing in a major one, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I want to get back to fishing for fun.
Yeah.
But now's not the right time for me to be doing that.
Oh, yeah.
God, if you're out fishing for fun, you know what I could tell you? Like, I fished for fun, but I always wanted to compete as well.
Yeah.
And then I competed at a couple different levels, and it took the fun away. I don't know, like, it's one of those things where be careful what you wish for if you're wanting to take that next step in competitive fishing, because there's going to be unexpected things that you're not ready for. And I don't know. You just be careful and monitor yourself, and don't let yourself get out. You know, obviously explore outside your comfort zone, but don't let it not be fun anymore, because it got that point to, you know, I've been doing this shit for 34 years. 34 years I've been fishing every fucking chance I got.
Yep.
And I always said, oh, I'm going to compete. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to do this. And number one, there is no best. There's not, because it's constantly changing, because you're only as good as your last tournament. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't let it burn you out. And I did.
Yeah.
And it got on top of me, and I got swept up in all the bullshit. Don't get swept up in the bullshit, dude. Go out and have a good time. And fish and share that with others if you can. But fuck, I don't know what to say about competitive fishing anymore. This is probably not the time for me to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I personally like to make an example out of, you know, in a lot of ways, I see fishing almost like what some other people would consider hobbies as well, like playing music. You know, playing music, you make an investment in your you know, there's equipment that's required in order to be able to do it, depending, you know, again, there's different situations. So you make an investment, you know, where does it go from there? Well, if you just like, you know, noodling on guitar in your basement, you know, and having some rears and doing your thing, awesome. Maybe that scratches the itch that you needed to scratch. Maybe you're a writer, and maybe you're out writing songs and shit, and you want to record and then just have this library, and that's sort of your thing, the creating, you know what I mean? But then maybe you're just like, I'm a performer. I want to do this, and this, I want to make it, you know, or you're in this situation, which a lot of people that play music are in, like, oh, I'm going to make it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a professional musician. I'm going to do this. And I can tell you, after knowing people who have taken that to the point of like, oh, I'm going to move to Nashville and do this genre of music, or I'm going to move to a major music city where I can do session work. It's worked for some and for a lot. And I'm surprised they get there and then they realize this is not the life I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have, you know, a family. And I'm not saying that you can't do that if you're a musician, but I am saying that the way there, it's a fucking grind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had friends from bands that you guys all listen to tell me the grind, and it's a sacrifice. You know, you have to give up some shit in order to be able to get it to that point. And do you really want it to be there? So, like, I look at the same thing with, if you want to be a competitive angler and you want to be the best and you want to hold the Bassmaster Classic trophy over your head, or that's your goal, you gotta go for it, right? There may be some sacrifices on the way. Like, it ain't easy, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's an absolutely phenomenal analogy, because there's so many parallels with, I think, the way the industries are both set up, both competitive fishing and music, and there's a lot of weird gray areas, and Yeah, Nelson. Go ahead and read what Nelson just wrote.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
he
I
and
saw that.
He and
come
I
in.
have obviously shared a lot of sentiment over the years.
He says competitive fishing at a higher level is not glamorous at all. When big money is on the line, people are out for blood and do things that make it not fun for everyone else. I agree. I think that, and I also see you at that point too, you see some of the true colors,
We've talked numerous times over the past couple of years about
Yep.
the kayak competitive scene, and even the hint of a decent amount of money, life-changing or not,
Oh, yeah.
draws out a certain kind of person. And that person is everywhere in every field, but this particular person has skills in fishing,
Yep.
and it a lot of stuff has gone sideways.
Yeah.
I really, again, and I'm not going to get fucking into details or who, what,
No,
why,
yeah.
when, and how, but like some of the things I've seen and heard, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. So
Fair enough.
I am, like I said, stepping away from that. Nelson is dead on.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out for blood, and you see shit that, two friends who are out fishing for $5 probably wouldn't bitch to each other about, and then doesn't happen that way.
See, I think
Doesn't happen that way.
I think that's the
Sucks.
funnest competitive fishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I really do. I think it's awesome. Like, but for me, these tournaments where you place in the money, you might win a little bit of money back. Awesome. Hey, but again, it's not enough to make it like a life-changing ordeal for anybody. It's you got to be in it for the fun. And also because they're monthlies, it's a long haul anyway.
Yeah, and that does, favor people who have a lot
yeah.
of time off.
But but also it does it is a good thing for the folks that don't place in the money, because there's generally with us, like we're doing raffles with the multi-species stuff. So we've got prizes that can be given away with some of this stuff. So it's like you're basically just doing your thing. It gives you a little bit of focus when you fish. So it's not just going throwing baits, you can kind of get cute with it.
Just to show, and this is the nice part of really low end fishing, low end competitive fishing with low end of money.
Yep.
So if someone were to win, let's say we had jigs and bigs tournaments for 7 months. Let's say we did April to October.
Yeah.
And the same amount of people that got in on the July, there's 32 people in.
Yep.
Now,
Which is a good average number. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody pays $30 in. And right off the bat, Fishing Chaos takes $1.50 or so. And then, Jigs and Bigs takes a small percentage because we have to do admin wise and plus stickers, etc. So if you won with 30 to 40 people, if you won every Jigs and Bigs tournament for 7 months, you would have a grand total of just shy of $2,600.
Yeah.
Are you quitting
You're
your
not
fucking
quitting your job over that? No.
Yeah. So, low end, well, I'm fine. That's completely different.
Yeah,
And that's
that's a total
7
whole
tournaments.
other
So, one tournament, you can win $370. Like, that's awesome. I'm not, especially with the competition level, it's great.
Oh yeah.
Good for you. It's a little, everyone who's not happy with $370, but how much money did you spend to get that 370?
Yeah.
If it's a month-long tournament, how many, like for me, the driving,
Yeah.
that $370 is gone in the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? With the gas. So that's the things people don't think about. And it never gets brought up in the competitive community that everyone's fucking, it's great to win, but it's not about money. It's about saying you won, because when it comes down to it, very, very, very few people are making money.
Yeah.
And even fewer numbers of people, if any at all, are making this a full-time job. And if it's a full-time job, guess what? They're hustling and they're marketing.
Yeah.
They're marketing
they
for
have
the
to be.
companies that are giving them money.
Yep.
And then, like I said, just one of the things you think about is if you're doing this and you're married, you better pray to God your spouse has a job
With benefits.
9 to 5.
Yep.
Yeah, with benefits, because if you're paying state fucking insurance, that's up the ass. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Try to keep it fun, folks. If you find your fun zone, for God's sake, don't leave it. Don't leave it too far. Do it incrementally. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that there are ways that people can keep it fun too. For instance, getting out of your regular sort of happy bookended spot with what you're doing. So that might be for somebody, it might be changing up their baits. And that's how something like Dark Horse Tackle or, even just a trip to your local tackle shop and saying like, what's this all about? Learn something, make it something. If you can keep it fresh and it's not all the same old thing to you and you're not jaded, it's a whole lot easier to keep it fun. So if you can try to throw something in that's fresh and makes it a little bit more unique. And, also, I personally, I think I love fishing new water. I love it. I love the travel, just the whole adventure. If I could do a trip like I did with Delirious up to a legendary body of water like Moosehead up in Maine, if I could do that twice a month, even once a month, I would 100% do it. 100% I would do it. It's not, it's cheaper than some of the like when I take trips with my wife, it's way cheaper than that. You know what I mean? Like the lodging in some cases is free. Actually, in every case, I think so far that I've gone on any of these trips, the lodging has been free when I've camped. Aside from when I was at Tackle Talk in Hickson, Tennessee, but that was nothing compared to what I spend when I go on trips, like with my wife or something. I guess what I'm getting at here is the reason why I love that so much is that the fucking tournament winnings, all that other shit, you don't take it with you when you die, but the memories live on forever. You know what I mean? And that in part is also why I like to do the social media stuff so that shit exists telling this sort of story. That's how I keep it fun. So I think for a lot of people, fuck around, find out. If you need if it's stressing you out, especially if you're in the content creation world and you're like, fuck, I gotta catch this, I gotta do such and such. If you have fun organically, are enjoying yourself and having a good time, your viewers will too. The people who consume your content, they will too. We've been going on and on and on about this. That's fine. I'm glad you guys enjoy hearing about all this stuff, but we do have to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to go back after we do bait of the week, and we'll kind of catch up with some of the jig heads as far as the commentary that's coming out and everything else, because they've got some good shit to say. But one thing I do want to throw out there is this FTG. Man, I had one that was a little crazy that happened this weekend, and I'll go over that, but I want to play Todd's first. He sent us a voicemail on our new number. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about that. So we are changing the way that we're doing FTG to kind of save everybody. I'm totally stealing this idea from Benji over at Budget Overlanding. Budget Overlanding. Go check out that show if you're interested in overlanding. But I'm totally stealing this idea from Benji. So Benji, I apologize, bud. But we've had this phone number for years, and we've only kind of used it for business calls and when folks want to solicit or something or partners, they have access to it. And we don't really it's more about messages. People can call and leave us a message, and then everybody can get it and whatever. And you know what?
We've never used it.
We really haven't ever used it, but now I want to give you guys the number. If there is a grievance you would like to air, an FTG perhaps, maybe you just want to leave a little bit of commentary on the show and let us know what you think, I'd like to ask you, in fact, I implore you to please call us at 413-324-8519. That
number once again, 413-324-8519.
Go ahead, call, leave us a message, and we'll be glad to use that audio for an FTG, a little bit of just saying hello. We might reference it on the show. If it's something good, go for it. Throw us. If you had a great day fishing, tell us a story. That's awesome. We might even create some other shit for this if we get enough voicemail.
Recommendations on cannabis strains, whatever you got.
Anything you got, really. That's the thing about
there are no rules.
It's
this
true.
Is Vietnam.
Jigs and Bigs, you guys know, we talk fishing and everything that's adjacent, and that everything is a lot of shit. We talk all kinds of shit. So it might be camping. It might be cannabis strains. It might be beer suggestions. It might be, I said camping. It might be baits, you know? It might be like, oh, Bobby, I saw that live stream. You got a giant fucking booger hanging out of your face. Why don't you go ahead and fix that? Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Could be new heavy metal bands to listen to while you're camping, imbibing cannabis on a fishing trip.
It could also be.
Well, I want to hear those.
Those are the best ones. You know, we should just make sure that Lockwood gets this number. And just could you imagine some of the calls? We're going to give him an open invitation. Man. Yeah, I'm going to. I am 100% going to. All right, so let's go ahead to get to it. We got Todd fishing the sticks. He had called in, and this is his FTG right here.
Hi, guys. Todd. I kind of got an FTG for you. Was out fishing a local lake yesterday. Fishing a frog on a mat. This guy, I landed a nice little fish, pulled it in, and it kind of drug me into the mat a little bit. So no shit, I let that fish go, start backing out from the mat. Fishing my way along the mat, and this guy pulls out right in front of me, cuts me off. So I'm fishing around him, but looking at his boat, I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's got a passenger seat from his 1980s Astro van mounted to the front seat of this boat. It's like a 14-foot aluminum boat. He drops anchor right in front of me and proceeds to fish the mat. Like, what the fuck? I carried upon my day, and I still had a good day, but fuck that guy.
And his fucking Astro van seat John boat, motherfucker.
So I'm gonna use this picture because he got a picture of it because Todd doesn't fuck around. Check that out, Sean. Look at that fucking seat in the front.
What a fucking asshole. Send me that, please.
I will. And we're going to use it for for the artwork of the show.
Good. Highlight that part with the fucking seat. What a doucher.
What a moron. People are so stupid.
I'm smart. I put a fucking minivan seat in my John boat. I'm so comfy. Now everyone in my John boat gets crabs too, just like they did in my minivan.
That's exactly it. Oh my God. So yeah, fuck that guy for sure. For sure.
Wow. This is fucking amazing. What a fucking idiot.
Everything about it. It's just so fucking stupid. Like, first off, that's like a sponge. Could you imagine having that boat out and like it rains? Let alone the fact that there's going to be some potential splash from the water.
What a piece of shit. This is amazing. All right. Noted. Can't wait to see the episode.
It's going to be
what
amazing.
A fucking idiot.
It's going to be so good. So good. Oh. So I got to say, for my FTG, that actually, Joe created a monster when he shared the info about the qualified captain on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I have been so overly critical in some cases with some of the douchebaggery that I have seen. So I was out Saturday and I was getting off the water and I'm paddling in and I get to the launch and I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm going to loop my truck around and I'm going to pull right off to the side, staying out of the way of everybody, my truck with the trailer so I can come right up the ramp, pop it down, throw my rods in the truck, to put my tie downs down and then just pull out of there and get out of there quick. I'm out of anybody's way. It's not a problem. It's all good. Well, son of a bitch, wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? I get up there, and there's a guy parked there with his freaking big-ass bayliner, right? Blocking it so wide, he's blocking everything. And he's like, and I should, you know what? The more I think about it, the more I think I should have just said, fuck it, I'm pull my boat off to the side. You do what you got to do, and then I'll go ahead and move my truck where it's got to go. Because where I was, I had to carry my boat across the freaking parking lot. That's part of the reason why I like bringing my trailer there. My boat's heavy as shit. You've moved my boat before. You know what I'm dealing with.
I have.
It's a giant, and I love it for that. It's fine. That's part of the price I have to pay is lugging it around. So I move the boat over. I get it up on the trailer. Everything's good. And this guy's like, he loops around and basically instead of having the ass end of the boat lined up with the ramp so he could just back straight down, which would have been the smart place to be, it's less like bullshit trying to maneuver, he loops around the entire parking lot like one would on their way out and then takes up this, like he was sitting in that spot for no good reason at all. Just blew my mind.
Yeah. Fuck him too.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Fuck him. He is a piece of shit. And thoroughly fucked. We have one other quick little segment that we need to get to here. And then I want to catch up on some of this stuff from our jig heads afterwards. But right now it's time.
Jigs and Bigs. Bait of the week.
Your boy caught some fish today on finesse jigs. More fish on finesse jigs, I think, that he's letting on, to tell you the truth. I love finesse jigs. I think that they offer so many options. And Shawn, I think you'll do a better job describing a sort of the attitude, the impression, the opinion that we share about the relationship from finesse jigs and Ned rigs. Why don't you go ahead and share some insight there? I'm going to look something up.
I feel straight up that Ned rigs are finesse jigs. I don't know how else to describe them. They're a finesse technique. They're a jig head with some sort of a plastic on there. I mean, finesse jig usually covers that area of smaller jigs.
Yep.
with a skirt, but I mean, a Ned rig's a finesse jig just without the skirt for the most part. Some of them even have skirts. Who cares? Why? I don't think a skirt to me doesn't define a jig. It's the jig head and whatever you're throwing on it. So I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah,
they are.
A lot of people will oftentimes associate a finesse jig as having like what they call that finesse jig haircut, where the top strands that would normally go over whatever the tie is that's around the jig head, the ones that go up, they'll hold them and they'll clip them so that they're kind of spiky around the head of the jig. And I say the head and not the ball head because finesse jigs maybe traditionally have round heads, but there are finesse football jigs that are out there. There are finesse shroom jigs that are out there. And that's where these are the details that sort of it's left up to your preference for the most part. I'm looking up on Google right now, and I just looked finesse jigs definition. It says finesse jigs excel in places with smaller fish, heavy angler pressure, or in cold water. They're commonly 3/16 to 1/4 ounce and come with finesse or spider cut skirts and a finesse light wire hook. They should have a ball shaped or compact head that can be deadly when paired with a small craw or creature bait. I think that I'm going to go ahead and say it, that I think one great way to where I fool around with the difference of you throwing like a finesse jig and a Ned rig, sometimes I want that skirt to slow down the fall rate. But it's just a tool, it truly is like that skirt is a tool. If you throw a Ned and, you might do the same thing with the plastic you're choosing. Something like a TRD is much more aerodynamic than some type of a craw that's got anything flapping behind it or a creature of any kind. I mean, in theory, even those hula sticks that have those little appendages that come off the back, almost like a tube has, those flapping will slow that fall rate a small amount, but that's something to consider,
I think you're underestimating that. I think it'll slow it down a hell of a lot more. Like I said, I have 4 shapes that I use.
So let me clarify the reason why I say that. I say like those hula sticks. So the rate that it will slow down as compared to something with like a skirt or flapping craws, it'll be a little bit less than that because they're so short. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean those when you really think about a hula stick, that's not really. I mean, that's a rocket. That's going straight down anyway. It's not even slow it down much. It's when you look at like something like a hula stick versus, I don't know, a baby D-bomb because it's so flat. It's so like non-hydrodynamic.
Yes.
Or a baby, a baby pit boss or something like that.
Yep. A baby D-bomb or even if you look at even like a paddle tail,
Dude,
like a small paddle tail.
Even a baby brush hug because there's so much dragging against the water.
So much shit.
It slows down significantly. Yeah.
You know when I notice a big difference is when I start throwing a curly tail grub as a trailer.
Yeah, that's got a ton of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And it does. I mean, it's one of those things. And what's interesting is like the traditional way to fish a Ned that from the creator of the Ned rig himself is not about dragging it on the bottom. It's about the fall. And that's part of the reason why the jig heads are so light with this is to slow this super, super compact presentation. And sometimes they're going to want that super compact, mini stick bait presentation where it's so subtle. So, if you want to slow that fall rate, you've got to go to as light a jig head as you have, whatever that might be. I personally, the reason why I think finesse jigs are so good is I fish a ton of super pressured water. And whether that's a traditional finesse jig with a skirt or it's a Ned, I think that's part of the reason why I, and probably even you, Shawn, have seen them be so effective is that, downsizing in those situations is often a great way to ensure that you're catching whatever fish are down there and not like turning them off from something too conventional in terms of profile.
One of the things, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, one of the things that I did, I think on my last Oklahoma trip, was that I have gone over that little pond so many times with so many big lures. I'm talking 10-inch worms, 7-inch worms, big bass jigs, big creatures on swim bait hooks, all sorts of shit. And eventually they got used to it and they got educated. And there was one day I said, you know what, I'm going to switch to something smaller. And I was throwing, I had to continue to use 20-pound fluoro, but I threw a Ned rig. And I had to be very careful with the reel. I mean, if I wasn't careful with it, it was going to backlash because that shit was so light.
Oh yeah.
But it was like the first, I don't know, out of the first 5 casts, I caught like a 4-pounder and a 7. I mean, like, all right, there we go.
You're like, so this is what working.
Yeah. So that was highly pressured water, or at least pressured by the stuff I was using.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they work. I mean, that's why I never buy into this divide we have over Ned rigs working or not, or somebody's fucking sexuality is related to if they throw a Ned rig. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so if you have a small screw to get out in your house somewhere, are you just going to take a fucking gigantic screwdriver to do it because that's what you have to do because you don't want to be using a little screwdriver? Like, who gives
I'm a fucking man.
I've caught big fish on both. It doesn't fucking matter. So, and if somebody's going out and just because we're on the topic of jigs and they're using a 3/8 half-ounce jig because that's what they always use and that's what they always catch fish on, and you don't catch fish that day, but they're maybe biting something smaller, how good are you at reading the water?
Yeah.
That's it.
I think the important thing also too, when it comes to finesse jigs, is the hook. Like you get some finesse jigs that the focus is on it being, I've seen 3/8 ounce finesse jigs. Like they'll be branded as a finesse jig, and it's generally that the hook is smaller. It might be just as heavy duty, or in some cases it's not. It's a little bit more fine wire, and that's the thing. It's just finding what it is that works best for you. Whatever, you got to look at the jig, the mechanics of what makes it a jig itself. Take the skirt out of the mix because realistically, you could change the skirts of anything. But if you find a jig, a head and a hook combination that's working for you in a weight that works for you, awesome. Throw your favorite skirt, whatever, you want to put together, make your own. You 100% could do that. But I bring this up because so this week I caught, all the decent fish that I caught this week were on some type of a finesse jig, finesse jigs or Neds. And they were, except for that one on the spinnerbait. That was the one, but all of them were on anything else of size, anything that was like 15 inches or over was on a finesse jig. And it was, I think a lot of that had to do with, the time of day I was fishing, the bodies of water. Some of these bodies of water just get hammered. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind, the way I used my Ned when I had gone out after I had switched out. I have these two rod holders on my left and right side. The one on my left hand side faces behind me, and that's that rod that I keep there is my follow up bait. So if I'm throwing something and I'm like, okay, so these are the conditions, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going to follow up with. Lots of times that follow up bait will be like a short list of a couple of items. It'll either be a stick bait, Texas rigged, if I'm fishing grass, so I'm not getting hung up anywhere, or it'll be a Ned rig of some type or some type of finesse jig most of the time. And what I'll do is I'll use moving presentations once I find fish. Like if I get a tap, that information is great because I know that there is something there. Okay, so now how do I catch that fish? And that's where like the game in my mind starts to really begin. So let's try something that's a little bit more finessey and suspended, like something that'll kind of flutter down like that stick bait, or we'll throw a jig and we'll get it on the bottom. Was this hit on the bottom? All right, cool. Maybe I'm going to drag it this time. Maybe I'm going to, and actually like Saturday when I went out, it was all stroking these finesse jigs. I'd let them go, let them hit the bottom. I'd give a big pull up on the rod, pick up my slack and let it go all the way down to the bottom. Give it a big pull up like that. And I was just looking to get that action coming up and coming down and recreate it over and over and over. And it worked, it definitely did the trick. But once you find fish, it's a great way. Shift your mindset, like, okay, let's throw a little morsel down there and see if maybe instead of just tapping my bait out of, curiosity or reaction, let's see if we can get them to commit to bite it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking A. Look at us. Look at us.
Look at us.
Here we are.
We're back.
We're talking. We're talking finesse jigs, and life is good. Life is very good. Let's jump in here. I want to try talk about some of our jig heads and what they've got going on here. Let's see what we got. So Zach from Dark Horse, Metal Jones, chimes in. He goes, "I'll just checking in, boys. At the beginning, I'm going to start back at the beginning so you all can serenade me home from Ohio." He says, "Holy shit, what a great topic." This is when we were talking about just the tip, keeping fishing fun. He says, "The same thing goes for getting into the fishing industry." I agree, because a lot of times it's not about that, like you had mentioned, Shawn, like you're in marketing. If you're trying to be a professional angler, you're in the fishing industry. You're a part of the machine that churns this out for so many people.
Nobody's paying people money just to go out and
Just
fucking
catch
fish and not mention their products.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. You got to mention the products.
That's half of it right there. You've got to.
And that's marketing.
Yep. That's exactly it. And if you're not okay doing that, it's like you got to be realistic about what you're doing. We did mention Nelson's comment about competitive fishing. Oh, and then Zach also says the answer is as far as fishing goes, don't forget to go play and keep the love fresh. And I couldn't agree more, man. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think it's important. It was an episode of Tackle Talk one time where Andrew Hayes had mentioned that, for him, and I related to this in a huge way, he liked going and fishing with artificial baits because it was like you're basically using like your toys, like as an adult, not adult toys. Get your head out of the gutter, but you're using these toys, to try to trick a fish to eating or reacting on this presentation that you're throwing out there. And there's this sort of like playful, childlike thing about it where you're just like, okay, cool. It's you in nature, and it's kind of interesting. That kind of struck me really well. I was like, I think that's exactly the appeal that I've got for it is exactly that. Jay Basson says, "I do it all for the experience." And I think that's huge. Nelson did chime in. He went over some of the numbers. He goes, "I can give you some numbers." He goes, "I won about $4,000 last year," which, by the way, is awesome. Because there are lots of people who fish tournaments and don't make that kind of money. You know what I mean? Like $4,000 is fantastic. He goes, "I spent just over $6,000 to do it. So not really worth it to some." And that's exactly the point. Like it all comes at a price.
Yep.
It really does. Yeah, Jay Basson chimes in. He goes, "Yeah, I do it all for the experience." And that's my whole thing, Jay. I'm the same way, dude. It's all about the experience. You just, those memories, everything that comes with it. Fishing in the Sticks did give us a cannabis strain recommendation. He says, "Presidential infused pre-rolls Skywalker." Now, I've never tried Skywalker, but I'm interested.
I believe I have.
You have. Okay.
And I would agree with his recommendation. If you definitely want to walk on clouds, yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Pre-rolls aren't my game, but Skywalker I will fucking heartily endorse.
Yeah. Presidential infused pre-rolls. Interesting. Yeah, it's funny, man. When it comes to Grampy's sleepy medicine, I am more of an edible and vape guy for the most part, just for like precision dosing and like management. Whereas Shawn's very traditionalist, very methodical. You know,
yes.
Old school, some might say.
But known to take a bowl stroll every now and again.
A bowl stroll. I love that. That is fucking genius. Oh, and then Nelson chimes in. He goes again. He's like, the way I see it, he says, I spent $2,000 to fish some of the best waters in the Northeast all summer. Pretty cheap, actually, I think. And I think it's all about like perspective. You know what I mean? If you're like, shit, I went out and I fished and I camped at these areas and, you know, ultimately this is what I spent, then awesome. You know?
Yeah.
But you've got like, that's exactly it. You get to a point where you're just like, I just don't want to do with all the hoop jumping and stuff to whatever. You got to do what you got to do. Pre-rolls are the bedtime pregame. Fair. I love it. What a great episode. Guys, we're going to take another quick break. We're going to get back in segment 3 and wrap this sucker up for you guys. We do have some pretty impressive stuff happening. I know I had mentioned on Instagram. Well, actually, we'll talk about this in segment 3. We'll talk about this in segment 3, and we'll throw some stuff out there. For the real OGs that are hanging out listening to the end, we see you, and we appreciate you. Don't go too far, guys. Much more coming up right after this. Hey guys, I often get a lot of really good feedback about my beard. Lots of times people actually will ask about what I use for beard care products too. For a long time, it was nothing other than a brush. But things have changed and my beard is styled better and much healthier than it's ever been before. The main reason for this is that I started using beard care products from livebearded.com. Right now, I'm using Live Bearded's beard wash, the conditioner, oil, and the beard butter. I'm also using their bar soap too. In all in matching scents, I should add. The products are 100% natural and they don't leave your beard feeling weighted down or crusty. I've discovered livebearded.com on Instagram and ordered their sample pack of 6 different scents to figure out which one I like the best. I really enjoy the Gunslinger and American scents most. I've been using the sample kit and I really enjoy it, and I've upped it and gotten a full lineup of all their products in the scents that I like. I realized the level of quality that wasn't there in other products that I've tried before. It really did make a huge difference. So I've got a special offer for you. Visit livebearded.com and use my code ROASTBEEF, all one word with no spaces, and you'll receive a 10% discount on your order at checkout. Try the sampler kit for just $10 or go all out and get the full lineup of great products. There's kits available too, and they're great for gifts. And you can even sign up for a subscription. Save a little bit of money, and you'll also find that you won't run out of your favorite beard care products. Check out livebearded.com right now and use the promo code ROASTBEEF to save some cash and look like the epic beardsman you are. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jig heads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just 2 lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Well, guys, guys, here we are, segment 3. You made it. You made it to the end. Thank you. We appreciate you guys coming and listening all the way through. We do look at these numbers, and we see that there's a good chunk of you that like to make it all the way through, and we appreciate you for that. So, with that said, I want to talk about some trips. I am looking at doing some stuff. I had a little conversation in the Dark Horse Tackle partnership, like collab group text that we have. I was throwing around the idea of getting out to, well, you know, I have this sort of vision of going out to the Midwest and kind of like where I want to go and fool around. There is some stuff actually in Indiana that I've considered, and I was talking with those dudes, and I was like, what if we go here? And then I said, you know what? I think I'm going to minimize my driving to a maximum right now of about 6 hours. Just because then I can turn it around in a weekend and make it realistic and not be infringing too much on. I'm not going to be getting to camp like super late at night and having to set up and wake up to fish. I don't want to rush. That's the thing. So I think 6 hours in a vehicle, either super early in the morning or late at night or something, is probably the way to go. So what we did is we're bouncing around some ideas to fish an area in, I think Pennsylvania was tossed around. I think New York was tossed around, and a couple other spots as well. I had mentioned on Instagram, I think 2 weeks ago, that I'd be taking a trip to South Carolina. I am not going to South Carolina. I am staying up here, and I'm sending my wife and daughters to Myrtle Beach to enjoy a girls' trip and just relax and hang out. In fact, they're even bringing the derpy little dog. It's just going to be me and Hudson for a week up here. So I'm going to be doing a lot of fishing and getting out. Short trips, pretty local. I do want to try and work on taking him out with me and doing some bank fishing. I know he's not ready to get in the kayak. He's not that dog.
You should try it, man. I would take him out without a rod one day and just see how he handles it.
Yeah, that's I think ultimately how it's going to have to go, but we'll see what happens. I may even set up a little camping trip and bring him out for that. That could be kind of cool. We're going to have to see how the weather goes. I haven't been camping a whole lot right now, primarily because of the heat, because it's just nuts. So we're going to be doing some trips. But if you're in about 6 hours or so, like in the Northeast, I would say probably as far away as like Maryland, D.C., and as far out west as, I want to say just outside of Buffalo, maybe. Or, you know, that I would say probably I'd cover the entire New York border, something like that. And, you know, if you want to set something up, I am down. Get in touch on Instagram or shoot us an email, jigsandbigs413@gmail.com. I'm all about it. So I have that going on. That's really what I'm kind of looking forward to, is getting out and doing some trips. I really can't wait until this new trailer is set and done and everything's good. It'll be freaking magic. Absolutely freaking magic. I can't wait. It's going to be so cool. The cool thing is about it is I'm starting with a brand new trailer frame.
Cool.
Yeah. Going a little bit larger and a little bit wider, actually. And we're going to build up a lot on the sides. So we're going with a frame that's entirely welded. So very, very nice. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. It'll be cool. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We will be back next week, guys, with more Jigs and Bigs goodness just for you, and the weirdo over there with his hand in his pants. Whatever's going on, that's fine.
That's me.
Okay. That's okay. Good. Good clarity. Clarity's there. We will see all you guys next week with more Jigs and Bigs good stuff. We should have, who the fuck is Joe Brown back on? You should have 3 regular co-hosts on. I have been actually talking with a handful of past guests that we've had on about coming out and being a guest host as well. In fact, I may even just include them, so we'll just do 4 guest hosts and make segment 1 just crazy, and we'll have a good conversation. I know I talked to Brandon from Dust Off Fishing, talked to Debo as well, and a handful of other really, really good folks that I'd love to have on. And, you know, it could be kind of fun to mix it up and bring on a guest that actually does the show with us and kind of fucking around. Let's see what we got. Oh, I love that. I will absolutely fucking travel, boys. I love that, Zach. I love that shit.
Multiple guest co-hosts? Party time.
Party time. That's what I'm saying. It would be kind of cool if we could maybe every other month maybe do a show like that. Because you remember that one time, it was like in April, we did a live with like 12 people just randomly. And people fucking loved that shit. I think they like the chaos of it all.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's complete chaos.
It really is. I think if we're going to do it, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I love setting up here, and this stuff is great. I think what I might do is actually block out some time at like one of the co-work spaces that are around me where I can plug in and have really, really, really solid internet when nobody else is here.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that could be pretty awesome. How's the calf, Bobby? There we go. Well, the calf is pretty good. I mean, it's all right. I had to get some provisions to treat the area and take good care of it, because even though it is a drunken party tattoo, I do want to take some decent care of it. But yeah, pretty good. It's funny. I said this to my cousin. I was like, dude, when we figured out what we were going to do is the meme tattoo, right? And he was like, so where should we do it? I go, I'm going to do mine right under my beard, because it's so tiny, and I can be like, oh yeah, I got a throat tattoo. It's one of the most painful freaking spots you can be tattooed. But this way, it's just like, oh yeah, there it is. And he's like, I like that idea. That's great. And then it came up the idea of, I was like, but also I like kind of having it visible all the time, which is kind of cool. So I'm like, yeah, that could be kind of cool. So yeah, it was interesting, man. This is also the first time I had ever been tattooed with one of those guns that are entirely self powered, like they've got a built-in battery. And
oh no shit.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I'm a little. I don't know that the battery technology is there where that was running as cleanly as it needed to as far as frequency. And I think that because I was the last one. And that battery, I'm sure, had a workout. So I was like, oh my God, this fucking hurts. And I've got multiple tattoos, but this one did not feel great.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Roadkill Nick said it. Shawn the Fisherman back in the saddle. Indeed he is.
The co-host formerly known as Shawn the Fisherman.
Yeah, it's true. The co-host formerly known as Shawn the Fisherman. Guys, we're going to wrap this sucker up. You got anything else for this, Shawn?
Nada.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for sticking around for another episode of Jigs and Bigs. I'm Bobby Roast Beef. And for Shawn the Fisherman and for who the fuck is Joe Brown? He will be here next week, guys. Don't worry about it. We got a great show lined up for you next week. You're not going to want to miss it. We have an entire week left of our multi-species scavenger hunt. So if you're entered in, if you're one of those 30-some-odd anglers that are entered in and in this, you got to go ahead and do it. A little bit of a shout-out, too. Your boy is going to be taking a night and going out and doing some carp fishing after trivia one of these nights. If you would like to just tag along and hang out and, hey, maybe I catch some carp, maybe I don't. If you're into that and you want to go for it, I would absolutely love to have you. Hit me up, shoot me a DM. I'm pretty much going to be straddling that Hampshire County and Hampden County line with where I'm going. I have a spot that I think will make things kind of nice and even and good for everybody. So hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. I think that's going to about do it for us. Great show coming up next week. Don't forget, tag us in your fishing pictures, guys. Lots of you guys have been doing so, and I love commenting on your pictures and liking and saving and doing all that stuff to show you guys some support. So if you're taking pictures and posting them, make sure to tag Jigs and Bigs. Have yourself a great week, guys. We'll see you in another 7 days with more Jigs and Bigs goodness, more podcast greatness, if you will. Don't forget, like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.